Seen outside prisons in England and Wales, according to Ministry of Justice data. And this has prompted fears that unless security is stepped up, they might be used to smuggle weapons behind bars.
The government says it's working with police to disrupt the problem. Our reporter Ben Moore has the story.
Everybody knows drones come into prisons and they carry all kinds of things, and you could be anything on the drone. There could be a gun. Imagine a gun.
What was going mad? There's been a dramatic increase on the use of drones by organised crime gangs because this is a money spinner.
The system that we've got effectively puts up an invisible fence. A drone flies into the fence and it's effectively repelled.
The cells are here, you can see them. There's about 7 or 8 cells there. It's a case of up, there you are, over the thing, it's just there. That's how close it is, that's how easy it is.
Jamie has spent 14 years of his life locked up. He knows how important drones are to the drug market in prisons.
I've seen drones come to somebody's window and them go like that. I've literally seen of people sticking their arm out and the drone coming direct, and there's a prisoner sat in his cell on the phone going, right, come left, go right, go left, and directing him direct. So like it's like it's a delivery service.
Jamie served several sentences for a variety of crimes, some of them violent. He changed his life after being shot in a revenge attack 7 years ago.
Prisoner's just been released, guys.
He started the social media channel Jail Tales and says it helps prisoners get back on their feet as they're released.
You genuinely feel remorse?
Yeah, of course, man, of course. I spoke to one the other day and he said to me, it's made me change my life round and it's made me go straight. And when he said that, like, it kind of, like, it warms my heart.
Jamie has real inside knowledge and is worried about what unchecked drones may eventually bring in.
Imagine if somebody wanted to get a gun in prison and it come over on a drone. I'm shocked that's not happened already. Like, genuinely shocked, like, because if you think about it, anything come on a drone.
Figures obtained by the BBC show there were more than 1,000 drone sightings around UK prisons last year, more than double the figure from 2022.
No drone sign over the MOJ. Ironic, isn't it?
Steve Gillan was a prison officer for 34 years. He says the increase in smuggling using drones is concerning.
Security is being compromised every single day by these drones, 3 and 4 times at some establishments a day. It's only a matter of time before perhaps organised crime gangs or terrorists use a drone to put an incendiary device into a prison, or worse, guns and so forth.
A law brought in earlier this year makes it an automatic offence to fly a drone within 400 metres of a prison without special permission. But jails like high security HMP Garth has become like an airport, according to a recent inspection, with inmates burning holes in their cell windows to capture the packages the drones were delivering. So we're taking to the air to find out how to defeat the drones. Guernsey Prison on the Channel Islands houses more than 100 inmates, men, women and young offenders.
It's a prison, so people are going to try and bring in contraband, and it's part and parcel of working in this type of environment.
Governor John de Carteret is showing us around. He explains how a 150-year-old jail relies on new technology.
We've got a sky fence, effectively, a couple of 100 metres above the fence. When a drone tries to breach the perimeter, it's repelled until it runs out of battery, and then it slowly lowers itself down to the floor.
It works by overwhelming the drone's own signal receivers with interference from transmitters in the grounds.
Does it work?
It does work. It's a sight to be seen. When it hits that zone, the only drawback I see with it is that you can't go after the drone operator because you don't know where they are.
If you're measuring it in terms of how many drones have we had since we've implemented it, it's been very successful because we haven't had any.
So we've been asking why this drone disrupting technology hasn't been rolled out to all UK prisons. We talked to several organisations, including the Ministry of Justice and the Home Office, but no one could tell us definitively whether or not counter-drone measures are used in the UK. Instead, the MOJ gave us a statement. We have a zero-tolerance approach to drugs, and we work locally with the police to deter, detect and disrupt the growing illegal use of drones around prisons.
Well, my understanding is it comes down to cost, and they don't want to invest. So they'll bury their heads in the sand, the Ministry of Justice, until something drastically goes wrong.
You'd think the government, the prison, you'd think somebody would be able to put something in place to stop drones causing mayhem. Honestly, I don't think people understand how much spice and drugs ruin prisons.
Ben Moore, BBC News.
We're joined now by Steve Gillan from the Prison Officers Association, who we saw in that report. And you say the politicians, the civil servants, they're burying their heads in the sand.
Well, indeed they are. Firstly, good morning as well. This isn't a new thing. This has been around quite a long time, probably about 10 years. The Prison Officers Association, we flagged up the dangers of drones and technology all those years ago. And I'm afraid it's about cost-cutting, as we've seen over the last 14 years. I can't describe it any more than financial vandalism. You've seen from that report itself the crisis that there is with drones now probably doubling in nature from that freedom of information question. It's a real worry.
So it's got worse in recent years?
Well, Sarah, there's no doubt about it. It has got worse. We're actually seeing prisons actually awash with drones on a regular basis. We're dropping drugs, mobile phones, things to order. There's big money in this because organised crime gangs are totally involved in it.
We saw those pictures from the Channel Islands in Guernsey where it seems to be working. What do you think, when you see that sort of demonstration, do you think that is something that could work here as well on the mainland?
Yeah, absolutely correct. It is something that could work. Otherwise, if you bury your head in the sand for long enough, something will come back and bite you. So, for example, they're waiting for a gun, an incendiary device, or knives, bladed weapons being smuggled in through drones. This is a big issue, and you've got to keep up with technology. Now, I'm not the best IT person in the world, but the reality is there must be the intelligence out there, and it's okay to say, the Ministry of Justice saying, we're working with the police. But the police are overstretched as well. That's the harsh fact of reality. And indeed, I've seen over the years, I've been around for 34 years, in one capacity as another, as a serving prison officer, working at 3 separate jails before becoming General Secretary 14 years ago. I've never known it as bad. I've never known the prison service to be as bad. They've totally vandalised a once proud service. And the problem with political parties is they all blame each other and nothing gets done. So my challenge to the new government is to say, work with the POA, because we don't just identify the problems, we have the solutions as well.
Are you using this issue to politic a bit as well?
Well, absolutely right, because political parties have failed the criminal justice system and have failed my members, quite frankly, over decades. And we're worse now than we've ever been, and it's going to take a long time to turn this round. The criminal justice, and that's why my union actually called for a total inquiry into not just prisons, but the whole criminal justice system, from policing to the courts, to actual prisons, because it's been decimated, and we need to get it back on track, and back on track quickly. But what do? As soon as Labour come to power, they say they're going to introduce a sentencing policy because they know that they can't go on. But we wheel out people from the past that were part of the problem. Now, I'm not having a go at David Gauke. I think he's a very decent person. But he was Secretary of State and he was part of the problem.
Former Conservative Cabinet Minister who Labour have brought in to advise.
Absolutely,
on this.
yes.
Inquiry aside, what needs to happen then?
Well, we can get the blockers, the same as what they've actually done in Guernsey, or they could get netting that goes up next to the cell windows to stop them from actually getting access, because in many respects now, Sally, what's actually happened within our prisons, they're putting these new perspex windows up, and as always the prisoners are doing, they're boiling up the kettles and using the element to actually cut holes in the perspex. Now, the issue for me is very clear. I've been in a couple of establishments recently, and their governors are crying out for investment to stop this from happening by simply netting. In fact, a prison not far away from here, actually. I spoke to that governor. It's plagued with drones. There's one in London as well, where the governor is asking for capital investment just to put this netting up, because they know the problems of drones, they know the dangers of it getting into our prisons, causing extreme violence, where my members actually are on the receiving end of it day in, day out.
Guessing all that stuff will have to be equipped. It's going to be expensive, isn't it, to do all that?
I don't think the netting would be that expensive, but at the end of the day, what do we do? Do we wait for a gun to be smuggled into a prison via a drone? Because it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse, as your figures have identified in the documentary.
This is what the Ministry of Justice and the Home Office have told us. They say, we have a zero-tolerance approach to drugs. We're working locally with the police to deter, detect and disrupt the growing illegal use of drones around prisons. We also introduced restricted fly zones for drones around prisons, and police and prison staff have worked to make over 90 drone-related convictions, resulting in sentences totalling more than 315 years behind bars.
Steve, thank you very much indeed for coming in. It's a story we will return to in the future.